September 14th, 1998. This is not in the recorded document, but I just wanted to preface all of this that I am going to say some things in this one that I am just horribly embarrassed to have done, to have said, to have thought. But this is who I was in 1998, and I think that if I'm going to be exposing my entire life, I should do the good, the bad, and ugly as this is. And I apologize right up front for anyone that I might insult or offend with the things that I participated in back then. So this photo was me shortly before I left home at the age of 15 in 1977. And we were on the porch of Goldie's home. Goldie was my great-grandmother, and then right behind me is my mother, and the woman with the big hair and her eyes closed is my grandmother, Mama Jackie. Her home, Goldie's home, was in Anderson, Indiana. I went with Richard to the lake house after work at 7 p.m. He grilled lamb chops and Delmonico steaks on the grill. As much as I detest cooking, I enjoyed doing this with him. His housekeeper seems to have jumped ship, and he was disturbed at her lack of consideration. I wish I knew someone for him. He needs someone trustworthy, and I need someone conscientious enough to keep the place clean. I am sitting on his floor at 2 in the morning, waiting for some expired Benadryl tablets to take effect so that I can breathe. Being allergic to fur, feathers, dust, and mold, I can't breathe within a couple hours of being here, and that's a shame. This is the most romantic place I know, and I just love being here in Richard's arms. What more to life is there than this? My eyes swell shut, my nose starts running, and I have the overwhelming desire to claw my face off. This isn't very attractive. We laid on the couch facing each other, and with lotion rubbed each other's feet and legs and hands. We got into some touchy topics tonight. He asked about my first sexual encounter, and I told him I was raped at knife point by 3 men, Steve and Jim, I think, Crabtree, and George Minogue, when I was 14 in 1976, and then I left home at 15 in 1977 with my skate dancing partner Jim Jones. He started to ask about the rape, and I went into the kitchen and trembling washed the dishes, hoping he would not ask again when I returned. I was surprised to have such a strong reaction to the memory. It felt like yesterday. It seemed to have been the catalyst that launched a myriad of discovery questions about my sexuality. I told him about Dr. R and the swinging, and he asked how I would feel about going up to Paradise Lakes for their Friday night dance. I thought back to the night that he took me to hear the jazz band, and when I was dancing, he had said that he thought I had exhibitionist qualities. Was he looking for that extroverted sense of my sensuality in hopes of seeing me dance naked someday at Paradise Lakes? My blood ran cold. I answered his questions, which were, as always, direct and unpretentious. I admitted that I had discovered that I liked women too much. I enjoy male partners more sexually, but felt a deeper attraction and bond to women. I told him that it had been 10 years ago when I was not a Christian. My conviction to the Bible clearly dictates that I cannot engage in a lesbian relationship and love God. Richard said that although he had been a member of Paradise Lakes since its inception, he had never been involved in orgies or wife swapping. He shared with me his own nightmare story of 2 couples who were swapping wives and woke one morning to find one couple gone with the money and cars and the other couple left with the 4 kids. I never met a man other than Don who didn't openly fantasize about having 2 women at one time or watching the 2 women have sex with each other. I want to fill his every need and grant his every desire, but I don't know how far I should let this go. With Dr. R, I felt like I was his barter chip. He would bring me to the game to barter for the best sex partners. If you bring no one, or a hag, you get no one, or a hag. By talking me into going with him and letting anyone use me, he could demand any woman there. He always said he did this just to be able to enjoy seeing me have a good time, but I told him I didn't like being with other men and that I didn't want to fan the flames of my already perverse sexual orientation toward women. I would pretend to enjoy it for his benefit, so that he wouldn't look like the jerk I knew that he was. I always felt like I wasn't enough for him, and that it was my fault, and that he couldn't be satisfied with just me. Except for this lack of trust that came as a result of feeling sold or traded, my relationship with Dr. R had been wonderful. Now I faced an awful dilemma. Should I put my feelings aside and grant for Richard Martin the stuff of men's dreams are made of, even if just once, at the expense of my ability to trust him? He said we may or may not ever bring this topic up again, but now it will be lingering out there until it is resolved. I guess I need to think it over and be prepared for that dreaded day. I asked him about something he had said 3 or 4 times. He had been faithful to his wife for the 10 years they were married, but he said that didn't make him a saint, because if just the right opportunity had arisen, he might have strayed. I took it to mean that he had never faced temptation, and that if he did, he would have acted on it. He explained that he did face temptation, specific temptation that he still recalls today, and had not acted on it, but he said that he isn't Christ and that he couldn't say whether he would ever sin. I had always held that I would never cheat on my spouse, and felt this showed some lack of dedication on his part until tonight. I had been adamant that I would not engage in a sexual encounter until Don were legally dead or I were legally married. Here, a year later, I am violating both of those vows, so who am I to judge? Richard Martin was just being more honest with himself than I was. He said he knows that what we are doing is wrong, and that he prays God will forgive us and understand the situation we are in. He said that he also prayed that if God were unhappy with the affair, that he would do whatever he saw fit to end it. I burst into tears. I couldn't picture my life without Richard Martin. He inferred that he meant that God should cause him to be unable to perform, but my immediate thoughts were to losing him in death. I couldn't quit crying enough to tell Richard that it was the permanent loss that hit me so hard. I would love him with or without the sex. Frankly, I don't believe God makes deals like this with people. He gives us free rein to damn ourselves eternally. My tears were not of fear or retribution, but rather of the inevitable. It is likely, due to our age difference, that the day will come when I will have to go on without him, and already I can't bear the thought. Richard said that he has never been involved with someone where the relationship grew as strong and as fast as this one of 3 weeks. Most of his relationships seem to last 3 to 6 months. I hope ours does not grow like a weed, only to be starved to death in the shallow soil. This feels so good. I want it to last forever. I'm going to go snuggle with him right now.